This is What's Wild in New Hampshire by wildlife biologist Eric Wolf. Well, I'm sliding down through Bear Brook State Park. I had some errands to do, and on the way home, can't help but just to take a ride down to Bear Brook State Park. 10,000 acres. I think our second biggest land holding in the state, something like that, biggest park. 10,000 acres. I tell you, when I used to do the waterfowl survey for a New Hampshire Fish and Game, we'd fly down first week of January down to the coast and we end up down in the Hampton Marshes. And the way back, we always flew, seemed like, over Bear Brook State Park, getting back to Concord Airport. You know, you'd see houses and roads and more houses and sprinkled across the landscape until you came to the park. And you would fly maybe 10 minutes, 8 at least, with nothing. Woods upon woods upon woods upon woods. It's a huge block of land nestled between Concord and Manchester. Wonderful spot. Huge, expansive land. Been protected for decades. And a place that when I worked for Fish and Game, I did, well, see that duck box over there? I put that up maybe 25 years ago. I did. This pond right on Podunk Road. Yes, I did. I put up and maintained numbers of duck boxes here. Although when I first started checking them in the 80s, up here at Hayes Marsh, well, just to the other side of the road from me, there were some duck boxes that clearly had been there for decades. They still had the old sign on them from Ralph Carpenter, the director of Ralph Carpenter, when they put up some duck boxes, probably in the 40s, 1940s. So when I checked them, it was in the 80s. Or maybe it was the 50s they were put up, but they were still there. And I replaced many of them over the years that I worked here. So just stopping to take a look at the pond here, thinking back and thinking, good night, frogs, good night, turtles. They're all going to bed right here. Our frogs and turtles go into the wetlands and sleep the winter away. The nights are getting down into the 40s now. Too cold for our frogs and turtles, pretty much. I mean, they do move some about. When I was younger, I had 3 or 4 springs in Londonderry. I grew up in Londonderry, and I could go to these springs in the wintertime and catch me a frog if I wanted. They're chocolate brown. They turn brown in the winter, almost black. And they don't move much, but they move some. And if you pay attention at one of these spring holes, you can catch yourself a frog all winter long. Well, not the case most of the places. They just burrow into the mud or wherever, and they breathe through their skin. For turtles, they breathe through their butthole, the cloaca. Yes, they do. They absorb enough oxygen that way to not die, to survive the winter. So here is this beautiful pond in Bear Brook State Park with our sleeping friends out here. Shh! Let's not wake them up. They'll be out and about next April, don't worry. Right now, we're just going to let them tuck themselves in here into the wetlands for the winter. Good night, frogs. Good night, turtles. Well, hopefully see you next spring. Yes, a whole new year. Looking forward to it already, to hearing your voices, the spring peepers singing to us. Yeah, already thinking about spring, and here we are. They're just going to bed for the winter right now. This is wildlife biologist Eric Hoare for What's Wild in New Hampshire.